I had a man tell me recently there's 3 kinds of men in battle. First guy gets shot at, jumps out of foxhole, runs the other way, looks for a place to hide.
Flee.
Second kind of man hunkers down and just paralyzes in fear. The third kind of guy digs in and shoots back.
Don't fight.
And I said, well, we need the fourth guy for pastors.
Ooh.
He said, what's that? We need the guy that gets out of the foxhole and freaking charges the enemy fire.
The kingdom of heaven advances by force, and forceful men, violent men, lay hold to it. So obviously we're not trying to lead the rebellion for Jesus, but there is a way to take the fight to the enemy. Because we're on offense. We're not supposed to sit here and bunker down until he comes back to get us.
Riley.
What's going on?
My man. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. There are a couple things I want to get to today, and they're all controversial.
Let's do it.
So I'm just gonna ask questions and then let you take all the bullets.
Oh boy, I'm here for it. Let's go.
Yeah. I want to get to today a couple things. One, how do I say it? The profile of a new pastor. In other words, what I think we need to be looking for in future pastors.
Wow.
And I'll unpack that. I think there's been a generation of where the perception is pastors are soft.
Sure.
And I think in this new kind of negative world reality where the bullets are real, mobs can form quickly, there needs to be a kind of fortitude and resilience that is required to be a pastor, or you're going to cave. Wow. and you're going to fail. That failure of nerve. And so I think, not as a prediction, but I do think future pastors that are going to be effective are going to come out of the law enforcement world, the military world.
For sure. Kind
of that tactical mindset where they're trained for battle.
Yep.
And they have an instinct that moves to fire, not away from it.
Yeah.
I had a man tell me recently there's 3 kinds of men in battle. First guy gets shot at, jumps out of the foxhole, runs the other way, looks for a place to hide.
Flee.
Second kind of man hunkers down and just paralyzes in fear.
Yep.
The third kind of guy digs in and shoots back.
Don't fight.
And I said, well, we need the fourth guy for pastors.
Ooh.
He said, what's that? We need the guy that gets out of the foxhole and freaking charges the enemy fire.
Come on.
And you're that kind of guy.
Wow.
And so I want to unpack your story, just kind of like Sean Ryan style. You know what I mean? Just like,
let's go.
Tell me about all the cool stuff that us regular folks never get to do.
Wow.
And then that's the background you brought into ministry.
For sure.
Which I think has given you a unique perspective on and actually been an asset in ministry.
I got you.
And then secondly, I want to get into all things racial, man. Let's just stir it up.
That's my life. All
let's
things
be
racial.
Controversial. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
How we define racism. My gosh, what's happening here? I think there are certainly there are racists in our country. They may not be who we think they are.
Sure.
And the perspective you have and your story, it's remarkable. So that's what I want to get into.
Okay.
And we'll see where it goes. And maybe we'll edit half this out for your sake.
Redacted.
Yeah. Wouldn't be the first time in your life.
Come on.
So let's just talk about Riley. So before you got life, not pre-Jesus, but pre-ministry.
Okay.
Because you were saved before you went into, is it military?
Yeah.
Or let's just do this. What can you tell us that you did?
Sure. So, man, just first and foremost, Josh, is humbled to be here and just soaking in all the statements you made about me. Grateful for your leadership and just the opportunity to share with our listeners, right? I spent a little over a decade serving in the United States Air Force.
Okay.
I had hoop dreams, and God quickly showed me that He was not leading me to be in the NBA.
Okay.
So my backup plan from college was, I had a little 9/11 patriotism in there.
Yep.
I remember being a sophomore in high school, sitting in chorus class, not because I could sing, but because that's where the girls were. And then I saw these towers fall.
Yeah.
And I think there was something even in me as a sophomore in high school that says, that's not right.
That's right.
And not on my watch, right?
That's right.
So like I said, go off to college, flame that out, enlist in the Air Force. Because my stepfather, he was Army, retired from the Army. My mom also served in the Army until she gave birth to me.
Okay.
And so I lived in this house where they were like, man, if you ever join the military, join the Air Force. So all the jokes came with it, chair force, all that nonsense. But prior to what a lot of people might think, the Air Force has some dogs. Like we got some different AFSCs, different jobs where you can get in the fight. and Air Force has taken it to some bad guys. So I didn't start out that way. Started out in HR, hated every day of it. So thankfully I had great fitness scores. Got recruited into Air Force Special Operations.
Okay.
Which basically gave me the opportunity to serve a lot of tier 1 organizations.
Okay.
That means they respond directly to SecDef presidential driven mission sets.
Okay.
And they taught me the skills that I needed.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of language a pastor should have. SecDef presidential mission sets. That's amazing.
Are y'all throwing up little things to define this stuff?
Let's go. Let's go. For us civilians, this is super exciting.
Oh, whatever. So I spent the last 7 years of my career attached to Joint Special Operations Command.
Okay.
I did a lot of that time in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Okay.
And I learned a lot of skills to support a lot of great war fighters for our country, to just keep our nation safe and her interests moving forward. So that's the wave top version of that. So
I know we've talked a lot. And I have some friends like you.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden it gets cryptic and, this veil gets pulled over our conversation.
Sure.
And so I'm going to ask every possible question I can. And then you feel free to say no. Because you've told me, like, you've signed things and you can't talk about some things.
Yeah, not for 50 years. And
okay. So let's see. I'll be 96. No, I'll hang on.
Yeah,
that conversation.
I'll join the 1 millionth episode and we'll talk about it.
Or in the off chance that President Trump gives me some wild classification of security, then we could talk.
It might happen.
So it could happen. I know you got to edit and redact as you're talking, but I'll ask as many nosy questions as possible.
All good.
What did you do?
So, like I said, I was HR before Special Operations.
Yeah.
I was HR in Special Operations.
Okay.
So what that means is, like any military unit, there's a structure.
Okay.
So you have maybe your medics, maybe your finance people, you have your operators, you have logistics folks. So what this organization does is it takes people from all those different large groups and looks for certain traits.
Okay.
Where you can then retool that person for whatever the mission dictates.
Okay.
Right. So I get assessed and selected for this organization just to make sure their records are good, but also I get to serve these great operators who are doing great things. And along the way,
and what organization was this?
I can't go there. See, that's one of those questions.
Dang it.
Good job, though. Good job.
I'm going to try.
Yeah, it's all good. And I got some buddies who are still doing the mission, right? And I want to make sure that they're successful and not
100%.
compromised.
Absolutely.
Because of my stories. But so along the way, we PT together and some dudes are like, Riley's crushing it. Like, he's kicking butt.
Yeah.
And it just kind of led to further conversations with my leadership. And they were like, hey, we'd like to further assess you for some of these more unique things. And racial ambiguity is a gift. So I can blend in a lot of places. I can stand out in a lot of places.
Okay.
And moral compass not broken. But I remember, like, just while I'm going through this process, small story, the concern about my faith, the fact that where I got Christian tattoos, the quote that you referenced from Revelation 2:10 to our boys who became men over the weekend.
Yeah.
I literally have that passage tattooed right here on my chest.
Are you kidding me?
Nope. That's legit. So, like, when you said it was like come on, God.
Oh my goodness.
So all that to say is, like, I love Jesus. I'm out loud with my faith. I'm not weird where I can't, like, sit down and be a dude.
Yep.
But I want dudes to go to heaven.
That's right. Come on.
So when I'm being assessed into this further part of the organization, they're like, man, is Riley too Christian to do the mission? And so they asked this question about, like, basically being able to use certain TTP, certain techniques and tactics, which involve, like, misleading our enemies, deception, right?
Lying.
Quote,
that's how they're worried about.
Yeah. Could you lie for your country? Yeah. Because you're so loyal to your king, right?
Yep. Wow.
And the Lord actually brought back my basketball experience.
Okay.
And I'll cross you up, like, right now, in Jesus' name. Okay.
I'll pump fake you out.
Yeah. So again, like, certain skills within the game, I'm not breaking the rules of the game, but I am manipulating my enemy, my opponent.
Yes.
And so my response was, I think lying is wrong. Like, I don't think men should lie.
Yes.
However, if my nation under authority gives me something they want me to say or represent or use to manipulate an enemy that's hurting people, that's trying to destroy my nation, that will one day try to come for my family, game on.
Bro.
I am all about operating under authority, right?
Bro, yeah.
So then they were like, ding, right answer.
Great answer. Bro, even as you said, I'm like, gosh, the way the Lord has given you the ability to articulate that, more pastors need to hear.
Wow.
In terms of like, guys, there are tactics that are fully within the realm of our toolbox to use under authority and in the context of war.
Yeah.
It's really good, man.
Yeah.
It's really good.
So
keep rolling.
Yeah, so that was kind of what led me into, let's just say, further initiation into the organization. And so
what does further initiation mean?
There's just more training. So this is my first trip to Washington. So there's some great schools in your state that just help us be successful at doing the mission, right?
Okay.
And so I learned some skills. I got some more briefings where I was read on to more things, just about how we can be effective at fighting terrorism and keeping the dragons at bay.
What were things that you learned in those briefings that the normal civilian doesn't know that opened your eyes? Like there's an enemy out there.
For sure. And
we're actively under attack.
Yes. And what you see on the news, again, I'm not trying to bash. There's people in your church who probably are in broadcasting and serve.
None of them. No, it's not allowed.
They're not allowed to come to your church. So CBN's in my backyard. So I just want to.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay.
I'm trying to grow a church over here.
Yeah.
But I realize that everything you see on TV isn't the reality.
Yeah.
Right. There is a narrative. And so having a framework and an understanding of like, no, this is information that comes from the ground. Here's what these people are doing. They're really bad. They're more bad than you think. It isn't that they're just loyal to whatever their faith is. Yeah. It's demonic.
That's right.
And that gave me more boldness and clarity in some of the spaces I got to operate.
Bro, gosh, that'll preach, man.
Wow.
I mean, there can be sometimes such a sterilization in the church of sin. It's like, no, you got to stare the enemy in the face.
Come on.
And understand that what we're dealing with is real.
Yeah.
They're playing for keeps.
That's right.
Right. And sometimes there can be this I don't say lackadaisical, but a lack of urgency.
Sure.
In the heart of pastors in their churches.
Wow.
That sometimes makes me wonder if they're awake to what we're doing,
or if they heard the master. The kingdom of heaven advances by force, and forceful men, violent men, lay hold to it.
Let's go.
So obviously we're not trying to lead the rebellion for Jesus, but there is a way to take the fight to the enemy.
That's right.
Because we're on the offense. We're not supposed to sit here and bunker down until he comes back to get us.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Some of the training you went through, because this has been super fascinating as I've listened. We've talked over lunch dinners and hanging out. And I thought, gosh, we should put pastors through that training.
Oh wow!
Just to kind of weed out the weak ones. I don't know if I'd make it.
Oh,
but
man,
I don't know what you can talk about. But you went to a city, and you went to SEER school.
Sure.
What was that about?
Yeah. So again, just based on the mission, there are certain scenarios where it could be a Black Hawk Down, or again, I'm an Air Force guy, and so what happens if our plane crashes in a country that doesn't like us? What do you do? And so some of it was just like basic survival stuff, like stuff we ran the boys through, like, can you make a fire? Will you eat that squirrel or that rabbit, or can you navigate with the stars? There's some stuff like that. But there's also the urban, like the more city context for that. A lot of the places where I would go and support further operations, support operators, were developed. We had Wi-Fi. And so how can I leverage an internet cafe like I would leverage moss on the side of a tree if I were in the woods? And so there's training for that. There's hard drives and software and, not to get into all of the things. But I was afforded the opportunity to learn some skills that could allow me to be an asset to our nation in cities, to include blending in and not getting caught by bad guys.
So there's like 18 questions I want to ask you. I want to come back to the AI thing, because you were like, hey, AI, that's been around a long time.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Super fascinating. What you did in active foreign theaters, which was crazy, and again, don't want to put in. You filter what you want to say, but you talked about. In some of the training, learning how to you said you got to know what kind of who's captured you. So if it's a nation state,
behave one way,
you respond a certain way.
Sure.
Unpack that whole thing.
Yeah, and like I said, so with that, I definitely don't want something on the internet to put someone else in more danger, right?
Yeah.
But just what we talk about even in Scripture, wisdom,
yes.
Being able to understand the times, like the sons of Issachar, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And so, you need to know, like, okay, orient myself, like what type of situation am I in?
Yep.
If this is safe for me to do the whole thing we get from like World War II, Vietnam type stories, name, social, date of birth, like that might be unwise if it's ISIS, because there's little interest in bargaining for you, or we want information from you.
Yep.
So it was some type of exercises to prepare you for that moment.
Yep.
And the main thing you walked away with is, I never want to be in that moment.
Yes.
So how can I be locked in long before that happens to mitigate that even happening? Right.
That's right.
So there's just some things that, again, I don't want to shed too much light on that. But let's just say there's a safe, sweet spot to stay in that'll keep you alive. Because the win is not that you just, I guarded this secret, but you lost your life. And we're prepared to do that. But the real win is like, we want to get you back home.
Yeah. You learned how to read people.
Yeah.
How they teach you to do that?
Like anything, trial and error. So you spend time with a person, you learn mannerisms, micro expressions, nonverbals, things that help you. I mean, you do this, you preach. And so you can, obviously there's a spiritual component where you're feeling the room, but you can also see the guy 3 rows over who's like during your message. Right. And so you're like, how do I get his attention? I raise my voice, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so at a micro level, again, just through case study, a lot of that, this is kind of funny. I know you want to go with this.
This is so funny who they have you study.
So we would pick, high profile individuals. One reason, there's just a lot of material, a lot of footage, a lot of video. So we look at various politicians, political.
Any in particular?
One that I got a hoot out of, and it just kind of made it tough, was Hillary.
I love this. I was like, they're showing you videos of our politicians that teach you how to spot people who lie.
A lot of people who communicate for a living are coached. And so again, we kind of started with, could you use this tool for the interest of your nation?
Yes.
Lying isn't natural.
Okay.
And so like I'll use A-Rod as an example, which shout out to A-Rod. I hope he comes to our church.
Yes.
But like during the whole scandal of like, oh, are you doping? What are you doing? There would be moments where, hey, so do you use performance enhancement stuff?
Right.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Did you see it?
Okay. Yep.
So while your mouth is saying one thing, your body's like, I sure do.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
So one way to mitigate that involuntary, your body reacts to sin.
Yes.
Let's call it what it is. Sinning is unnatural for the way God made us.
Wow. And
so one technique to learn, how do I overcome that my body's going to tell the truth? You take one big breath and you, no, I didn't.
That's wild.
And so it kind of was tough for me to listen to a lot of debates, because I'm like, based on what? All right, I'll use another one to take it out of the political space.
Wow.
If you go back and watch, remember when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock?
Yes.
The slap her around the world?
Yeah, dude, slap her around the world.
There were certain things
that
Jada did with her body language that let you know it went from, this is funny, to yeah. And so like,
you gonna do something about this?
Yeah. and so again, just go back and just watch those moments, and you can see like she's chilling. Again, this means you're comfortable, neck is exposed. But the moment you get defensive, this happens. You're protecting your neck.
Gosh, that's wild.
Yeah. So again, when I'm around people, again, these are perishable skills as well. So I want to be clear there.
Okay.
Like, don't deploy me right now. Give me 6 months to warm up.
That's wild. Dude, pastoring is perishable skill too.
For sure.
Gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's so easy to get rusty.
My man.
Wow. So anyways, that's just some of it.
Dude, I want to pause that because I want to keep talking about this. Super fun. But thinking about that, a lot of pastors aren't in the processes, they're calling their people to in their churches. So get in a small group, they're not in a small group. Be in a men's group, they're not in a men's group, whatever it is. And what we did early on in our church was I said, I don't want to develop so many programs that I couldn't possibly do it myself because it'd be too busy. We want to keep it simple. So ours are gatherings, groups, and teams. Gather the church, be on a team, use your gift, and live life on life in a community of believers. That was it. And I often talk with pastors like, are you asking men to do things that you're not doing yourself? Because if so, it lacks integrity. There lacks a sense of compelling. I want to follow that guy. And bro, I'm telling you, a lot of pastors got into the game because they love discipling people, leading people to Jesus in this whole thing. And then like in a profession, the more successful you get, the further away you get from the profession that you loved. So I got guys, buddies, I got in law enforcement because I like chasing bad guys, keeping the peace, you know what I mean? Protecting people. That's it. And I got good at it, and boom, now you're a sergeant. Okay, now you're overseeing a squad. And then boom, now you're a lieutenant, now you're a captain. And now you're running the place, and you're fighting bureaucracy at a desk, and you're like, I need a car and a code run, and I need some bad guys. And so you got these fire breathers in positions of bureaucracy, and dude, they can lose their skill sets. And the same thing with pastors. Think about like you got into it because you love leading people, and now you're leading an organization. And not to say that's bad or wrong, but boy, guys, don't lose your first love.
Absolutely.
Like you may have a church of 5,000, 10,000, 1,000, 500, whatever it is, and there's going to be organizational demands in your life that are good and right. Step into it's what it means to be a leader.
That's right.
And you've got to find a place in your life to keep your skill set sharp.
Come on, bro.
You got to have unbelievers you're discipling. You got to have new believers you're discipling. Otherwise, those perishable skill sets, you're going to lose them. And then you're going to preach from a place that your people aren't at.
So good, man.
And so like in our city group, we got marriages and challenges and kids with whatever. And I do it not because I necessarily want to, although after every city group night, I'm like, this is the best life ever.
This is why.
This is why. But I think it keeps my skills sharp in the pulpit.
Absolutely.
Because the danger of pastors is you can build this world, this tithe-built bubble, I call it. That is a world that you live in that is outside of the reality that everyone else in your church has to live in.
Oh yeah. No doubt.
And if you create, that's why I say pastors should be Renaissance men. You should own a side business.
Come on, bro.
You should figure out how to make payroll and how to deal with taxes outside of a nonprofit world. Deal with the bureaucracy and the regulatory state that we live in. Because it keeps you connected to the people you lead. Anyways, blah blah blah.
Love that.
Back to pastoring is a perishable skill set. So watching Hillary. You said you studied hours of tapes. What were some of her tells?
Oh man, you're gonna get me in trouble. The laugh. Right?
If Riley disappears in the next 7 days,
we know what happened, right?
We know what happened.
Oh man, I would. One I would highlight would be the laugh.
Okay.
And I'm sure she laughs at genuine times, like all human beings do. But yeah, like I use that as an example for absolutely not. How do you mitigate that? So someone asks you a tough question and you know the answer to it and you know what you want to say, and those two things might not be equivalent. Then you have a coach. You have someone who's doing what I'm doing, watching hours of footage on you to help you mitigate what it is you do naturally. And so reset.
So they're buying time.
Sure. To just break that loop of what you're naturally going to do to respond. And then do what you want to do.
Okay. Other tells you've observed in politicians, we got to hear them.
Oh man. All right. This is a recent one. And I'll also highlight like Saturday Night Live for making fun of stuff like
there
this.
There you
go. But okay.
The Kamala Unke.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that's just another one that again is funny. It's light. And, again, I pastor people now, so I don't spend as much time watching politicians for their nonverbals. But that was just one. Again, I'm watching content like everyone else is. You got TikTok, you got all the places where you can see people and how they behave. And let's keep it 100. Like I can reference where 6 months ago you said this. And then now you're saying this.
Yeah, that's right.
And I get how we can change our mind, but say that. Say, I have changed my mind. Don't pretend like you never said X.
That's right.
So you just have all those data points where you be like, whenever you do that.
So how does that skill set translate to the mission, to the battlefield?
again, based on how you're operating, there's conventional forces. So that's probably what most people think of when they think of deployment. It's like this mass unit is now in this country and they live there. And
wearing a uniform.
Yep.
Under the flag.
Yep. Holding a piece of territory, supporting further things to expand our nation's interest.
Yeah.
And I think we all have the Hollywood framework for special forces, special operations, guys kicking down doors, snatching up bad guys, rescuing people.
Yep.
I'm grateful I got to support dudes like that, right?
Yep.
Then there's more of the, let's just say, sensitive type of things where it's the gray man. It's the quiet professional. It's you never knew I was here.
Yeah.
And some of you never knew I was here is me being able to look at you and tell, is this guy going to wig out on me? Is this a place where I need to like get out? Or man, I'm around this crowd. Things don't feel right. Learning to trust that gut what I would share with guys who I got to serve with. I'm like, bro, that's the Holy Spirit. Like,
that's right.
Like
that's right.
He's nudging you.
That's right.
And I would just try to like, just get in there and get that hook.
Yeah, man. The Holy Spirit lives in your gut.
It's discernment.
Did you ever have a sense like when you were in these special operations, these forward operating theaters where you're like in bad guy land,
sure,
undercover, maybe even putting up a front or facade of someone or something.
Sure.
Were you doing that as a Christian man? But were you praying, asking God to give you supernatural insight, wisdom to see things, maybe even beyond your training, that would keep you safe and allow the mission to be accomplished?
1,000%. Like, so whenever it was wartime for me, right?
Yeah.
I would recalibrate just reading about the warlord Joshua.
Okay.
And
the warlord. Ooh, I like that.
Look, I mean,
heard that said that
that's his job description. Like,
let's go.
Moses, Aaron, Hur, they're up there worshiping.
Yeah.
And he's in the trenches.
That's right.
Leading the next gen and teaching them the art of battle because I don't need you complaining like the previous gen did in the desert. Like, we got to go take this by force.
Let's go.
So I'm looking at that dude, and what God says to him before he gets ready to go and deploy is be strong and courageous.
That's right.
I'm like, he is strong and courageous.
Yeah.
This is Joshua. So it communicated to me that there was another level, that there was more. And one of the things, while highly trained, scripture says the skilled warrior prepares the horse for the day of battle, but victory is the Lord's.
Amen.
So I knew that as good as I thought I was, as great as the dudes who I'm supporting are, we're not good enough.
That's right.
Like, victory comes from the Lord.
That's right.
And so I would just, give me a double dose of be strong, courageous.
That's right.
Like, I need you to go before me. Like, if you don't win this battle, I'm definitely going to lose it.
Wow.
And for my teammates, we read in Acts where, there's a couple prisoners and there's some Christians in the prison, and everyone's cells break open because the Christians are in the prison.
That's right.
And so I knew, I'm like, you guys might not believe in who I believe in, but I'm going to ask him to cover all of us.
That's right.
And I 100% attribute a lot of the success that we saw in certain places. The Lord did it.
That's right.
He protected us. He guided us. Another cool thing, again, just further initiate into these organizations, you find the Christian roots in all of it.
Wow.
Like, you saw the movie Horse Soldiers. Those are Christians.
Yeah.
Those are guys who were part of the same church that I was a part of in North Carolina.
Wow.
Then I got into this one unit, which is like, you don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
Here I am, send me. That's Isaiah.
That's right.
But before these guys go out, here I am, send me. Send me.
Wow.
And so being around dudes who are bad, like these are
mamma jammas.
If I'm in trouble, come get me. Like, these are the dudes you want to send in.
Yep.
And they lead with, send me. Just use me.
Yep.
So they know God's the one doing it through them.
Yep.
Which is incredible. Yeah.
Dude, that's just amazing. It, I wish more pastors had the experience that you've had, because there's a sense of confidence and danger around you that I think more pastors need to have, because men are willing to follow that.
Wow.
And I mean, I love you for it. I'm grateful for it, man. It's remarkable.
Thank you.
Dude, talk about some scenarios you've been in, overseas in theater, like what can you talk about? Like things you would actually do? Because we've talked a little bit, and I'm like, you did what? Like what? Like things, people do that?
Yeah.
So like to support. So like your job would be to not be the main guy.
Sure.
but to be the guy that shifts attention so the guy who's the main guy can get taken care of.
Sure.
Like something like that. So, or maybe a theoretical scenario of what might happen.
A little hypothetical.
Yeah, a little hypothetical.
In a different universe.
Yeah. What you would do.
Yeah. I'll go into not quite stories, but a couple scenarios.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about it is, again, I am a HR person by trade.
Yeah.
Which means I know a lot about it.
Yes.
Which means I can speak about it.
Yes.
Which means if I need to do something outside of that, a story I could tell is, I'm just here to part of this and I can do HR.
Okay.
So it was easy to communicate that. I had experience in communicating that. It's boring. No one wants to hear my HR stories.
Right.
And so I can go about my business because I'm here just doing HR stuff.
Yeah.
Another scenario.
Like as a cover, you're saying.
As something that I would be willing to share.
Okay. So you're in settings with bad guys or friends of bad guys.
Sure.
And you have a story to tell.
Yeah. I mean, you do the why are you in my country?
Okay.
Oh, here's why. Oh, that's boring. Go about your business. Cool.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you got to see how that message is landing with them or whoever you're interacting with. But but then there's the cool stuff. Is like, like we're gonna jump up in this bird and these dudes are in trouble and we're gonna send something their way. And the bad guys are on this hill and we're gonna send something on them, right? So
make it rain.
Yeah. I mean, there is a spectrum to the mission.
Yeah.
And again, once I was in that world, I was able to hop around. And so, sometimes I'm using a card table and I got a radio and I'm talking to the boys up there and I'm like, hey, it's dark and I got my night vision goggles on and we're going to land you here and it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
And maybe they're bringing in someone who was doing something really bad. And now, okay, Riley, you detain this person and go ask them a bunch of questions. Okay. Cool. So now I'm kind of running a little prison, like that's a new skill set, new achievement unlocked. And so you figure it out. I think our ability to train, our ability to learn, that's the thing.
Would you ever go into a situation where you were a distraction?
Oh yeah. I mean, so, listeners might not be able to tell, but, like you, I'm north of 6'1", 6'2" I would like to think I'm handsome. I hope my wife thinks that as well. So sometimes when I'm in a room, I don't blend in. I stand out.
Yeah.
And so what do you do with that? Like if you stand out, then you stand out.
Yeah.
Which means, okay, I'll go over here and I'll do this activity that'll get everybody's attention on me. Again, I'm not a person of interest.
Yeah.
I don't actually have anything that they would want.
Yeah.
But they assume because of what they see.
Okay.
And so while I do that, then other people can do what we need them to do without any interference.
Okay. So it's a look over here game.
Little red herring, little misdirection.
So
little pump fake.
We're a little pump fake. Yeah. So was it ever like, hey, you're in a scenario and like holding their attention? Okay, mission accomplished. Now get out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But get out doesn't maybe convey what you're thinking of, like, pew, run. It's no, because that's the wrong, like, again, from a law enforcement perspective.
That's right.
Why are you running?
That's right.
Because again, I have to think about this person who I'm interacting with and their assumptions, their perception. Perception's reality. So get out would mean like, okay, maybe we simmer things down a little bit. Or I remember I left this thing here, or hey, this has been fun, or hey, can you do me a favor? Can you take them there?
Yeah.
And then you fade away.
They never know you were there. Sure. Did you ever, we talked about this a couple of days ago, guys get lost.
Oh yeah.
Like they lose their moral compass.
Sure.
And then the name of the mission, they start violating their inner code, their moral code.
Yeah.
Were you ever in a situation, like you talked about, like, you're trying to get in with a terrorist organization or a whatever it may be, and then you're in a meeting and they want to treat you right, and so they bring in all the girls, and you're like, I'm a married man, in a setting where I'm presenting as someone else, and what's real, what's fake, what can be done in the line of duty that's justified, and what would be flat wrong. Crazy conversations that we've had about that line.
Yeah.
Did you ever find yourself in a situation like that? And did you have stories of guys who did?
Yeah, obviously not anybody I would mention by name, but again, just based on the most general, like, here's what could happen. That's a lot of temptation that you just described.
Yep.
I'm in this place, who's gonna know?
Yeah.
and you can kind of convince yourself, I have to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Justify it.
Yeah. Again, I'm just thinking of like even some movies you've seen, like shout out Denzel, but like Training Day. It's like you could easily be the junior officer in a lot of those moments and say, well, I guess I have to smoke this dope, or I guess I have to, and it's like, no, you don't.
Yep.
And the moments, again, I've only had one moment by God's grace that it was like, okay, they're definitely trying to treat me. It was an opportunity for me to just be real clear, and it actually gave me respect with these guys.
How'd you respond? What'd you do?
I was like, hey, I'm married, and marriage means a lot to me. So respectfully, like, this ain't my situation.
Wow.
Yeah. And
bro, you're in a, wow.
Well, and it went, honestly, bro, it was one of those where I'm like, this could be the end of this lead. But it was just one of those things like, could I go home and live the rest of my life?
Wow. Wow.
And that's a tough road, man. And I didn't want to bring that hell onto my marriage.
Yeah.
So I'd rather go home and report back like, it didn't go like we hoped.
Yeah.
Than to have to say that to my wife. Right?
My man. So, wow. Dude, there's integrity. I think God honors that.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to condemn someone who made a different choice.
Yeah.
But what I will say is like that's a slippery slope, and it's like it starts like a little hill, but then it turns into a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen guys go off that cliff. And
what does it look like?
There are units out there, and again, these aren't even like the classified secret ones, but like if you deploy to a certain area of the world a lot, and you frequent certain places, you can have some long-term consequence, meaning a kid.
Yeah.
And I have heard and I have seen dudes living two different lives.
Wow.
And I'm like,
two different families.
Is that worth it, man?
Yeah.
Like that kid's gonna grow up one day.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So anyways.
Wow. Yeah. How have you drawn on your military training experience in ministry? How has it helped equip you for, you got an awesome church growing there in the Virginia area?
Yeah.
Virginia,
Newport News.
Yep. And leader of men, God's blessing that work there, seeing lots of people get saved.
Yeah.
What lessons have you drawn from your military that have translated well into the ministry world?
Yeah. I think the military is a great, I know we call it basic training. I think Israel got something right, man. I think, again, not to be like super nationalistic or anything like that, but I'm like, man, just one enlistment or, graduate from college, go serve as an officer, leader.
Yep.
I think that's good.
Yep.
Again, especially if you don't know what to do after you graduate.
Yep.
Okay, get a skill set.
Yep.
Do something tough.
Yep.
Like further and protect the freedoms of the people you love, right?
Yep.
So I've seen places where discipline, it's easy to get undisciplined. Like I'm meeting everyone for coffee and I do youth things. So I got to eat another box of pizza. Like I can't say no to it. Like, I mean, it's easy to put on some weight as a pastor because you're constantly connecting with people. And a great way to connect is around food.
Yeah.
But there are places where I'm like, all right, we're going to eat here because I got to watch the calories.
It's salad today, boys.
Yeah. And I would even say, bro, I had a real moment with the Lord. And this was before ministry, but it shaped who I am today.
Yeah.
We started this thing called the Bible in a Year.
Okay.
And
at your church?
Yep. So this again.
And what's the name of your church again?
So this is Manna, but this is when I was attending Manna Church in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Okay.
So I'm an Air Force operator doing my thing, and I go to this church. And as a church, they're like, "Hey, we're going to read through the Bible in a year."
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. I've read through the Bible once.
Yeah.
In my 30 or 26 years at that point.
Right.
But I want to accept the challenge. Every day, I'm going to read the Bible. And just like everyone else, it's like, I got to get the kids here and got to spend time with my wife and I got to go PT and long day. Finally, I'm going to sit down and read the Bible and
out.
So I knew end of the day wasn't going to work for me because I'm done at the end of the day. And dude, I remember reading this quote from Martin Luther where in moments where he was busy, he would wake up even earlier to spend time with God.
Yeah.
God brought me this picture. I saw myself in basic training, jumping up, making my bed, shaving, running downstairs to go line up.
Yeah.
All because some grown man would yell at me. And I felt this moment, right? Little stimulus.
Why are you hustling to that moment? Yeah.
Yeah. And the Lord just prompted me. He's like, you won't get up early for me?
Mm.
And bro, it wrecked me. And so I'm like, you know what? So this is actually from a little Jocko Willink.
Yeah.
He had this phrase like up before the enemy, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you know what? My enemy is my apathy, my laziness, my excuses.
Yeah.
So I'm going to set an alarm before all of that nonsense.
Wow.
And I'm going to meet my Father.
My man.
And dude, I have not missed it. I'm ruthless about it.
Wow.
And I've seen God do more with the compounding connection that I have with him.
That's right.
Than my seminary, than all the study I could put on the side.
Dude, that'll preach, man.
So anyways, man, I would say that's just one. I knew I had the discipline.
Yep.
I've seen it play out in a different context.
Yes.
I just had to apply it to my faith with Jesus.
Bro. Woo. I mean, what a word for ministers that can get caught in the cycle of it's demanded of me. I got a weekly test. I take it in front of everybody.
Well,
I got to prepare the material, prepare the content. I got to be funny, witty, relevant, culturally savvy, theologically sound, practically applicable, biblically accurate, connecting to multiple experiences, age groups, seasons of life.
Sure.
And I got to do it in 40 minutes and be funny and have a good intro and a good ending and great illustrations and analogies to connect the different learning styles.
Yeah.
And it can be overwhelming.
Oh yeah.
And so you can get caught up in I'm not saying don't work at your craft.
Of course.
I'm not saying don't grow as a communicator and don't walk in disconnected from the Father.
Come on.
Like
bro.
what I'm hearing you say is like, man, you use the discipline that you gained in the military and applied it to your walk with Jesus.
Absolutely.
So that you refused to sleep in past when the enemy woke up. So you walk into the pulpit, or you walk into a meeting, you walk into a board meeting. You're there with a connection to the Father.
Absolutely.
And like that's a difference maker.
Come on.
Like if you lose comms out in the field of battle, like you're hosed.
Oh yeah.
But if you're never not connected to that warship in the air,
I can call in some resources.
They can rain in the fire.
Come on,
dude. You could be in the cave. You could be in the heart of the enemy lair and be like, you have no idea the access of power I have.
Here's what I need. Full send.
Did you ever do anything like that? Like radio and munitions?
I got to be on the
part of your role or no?
Like I said, it got to be a little bit of a multi-tool.
Okay.
So I'm around some guys who that's their job.
Yeah.
So you probably heard of like combat controllers,
combat
pararescue men.
Yep.
So it was cool, like learning with those guys, and they're dudes. So they're like, "Hey, you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
You want to drive?
Yeah. So I was like, "All right, hey, punch these coordinates, call this, point this thing over here." And I'm like, "Let's go."
Woo!
And again, I enlisted as an HR troop.
There's a car. Now it's gone.
Yeah, that car is gone. So yeah, definitely got to be a part of some fun experiences because some great patriots, and I'm grateful. Yeah,
I mean, not that you're keeping track or doing notches on your belt, but I asked you, I was like, come on now, give me a count, and like you've been directly connected to being responsible for multiple very, very bad men being brought to justice under the authority of the U.S. government. And I just want to say thank you.
Absolute honor.
It's an honor.
Absolute honor, man.
And more pastors need to have that kind of fire. I want more notches on my belt having taken out the enemy.
Yeah.
The demonic.
Yep.
Nope, that demonic used to have that person. Now they don't.
Yeah.
Because we stepped in to take it by force.
Yeah.
So I love you, man. Hey everyone, Pastor Josh here. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate the podcast, review, follow, and share. And if you want to support Stronger Man Nation, you can go to strongermannation.com/give to help keep unwoke, uncensored, straight talk Bible teaching coming to you for free.